divorce without mutual consent. Under section 13, there are various grounds under which the party can seek divorce without mutual consent. It is the case in which only one party wants to seek the divorce. In this case, ground for divorce under section 13 are adultery, cruelty, desertion, conversion, unsoundness of mind, virulent or incurable form of leprosy, renunciation of world, presumption of death, venereal disease in a communicable form. Also, there are additional grounds that are provided, and that are if the degree of restitution of conjugal right is passed and the parties have not resumed their cohabitation and there is no restoration of conjugal rights for a period of 1 year or more, then it can act as a ground for divorce. Similarly, if the degree of judicial separation has passed and parties have not resumed this cohabitation for a period of 1 year or more, then it can act as a ground for divorce. There are several grounds that are provided only to the wife. These are bigamy, rape, sodomy, bestiality, non-resumption of cohabitation after a degree of maintenance, and repudiation of marriage. So, in adultery, it is an extramarital sex that the husband indulges in with some other than his wife. And in cruelty, if the husband or wife do cruel, either physical or mental cruelty with the other, then it can act as a ground for divorce. In desertion, if the deserting spouse without any reasonable excuse desert the other spouse without his or her consent, then it can for a period of 2 years or more, then it can act as a ground for desertion. Conversion, if a party converts himself into another religion by undergoing the religious ceremony, then it can act as a ground for divorce for the non-converting spouse. Unsoundness of mind, if one of the party is of unsound mind and it is proved through the evidence that it is impossible to live with him or her, then it can act as a ground for divorce. When there is virulent or incurable form of leprosy to one spouse, then the other spouse can seek divorce on this ground. And when there is venereal disease in a communicable form that is transferred from touch or using another person's object, then it can also act as a ground for divorce. Renunciation of world means by entering into a religious order and does not care about any worldly affairs. If one spouse renounces the world, then the other spouse can take divorce from this spouse on this ground. Now next, that are when the degree of restitution of conjugal rights or judicial separation is passed and the parties don't resume either restoration of conjugal rights for a period of 1 year or more, or resume cohabitation in case of judicial separation when a degree of judicial separation is passed in case for a period of 1 year or more, then these are known as irretrievable breakdown grounds and the parties can seek divorce in this grounds. Why special grounds in bigamy, if the person marries more than one woman while his first wife is subsisting, then it acts as a ground for divorce. Rape, sodomy, bestiality, if the husband indulges in rape, sodomy, bestiality, then it can act as a ground for divorce. The ground for divorce is repudiation of marriage. If a girl who is married after attaining the age of 15 and before attaining the age of 18 years, she repudiates her marriage, then in this case, then it can act as a ground for divorce. So that's all about divorce by mutual consent, and it has been seen that divorce by mutual consent is a very civilized manner of taking divorce rather than divorce without mutual consent, because in divorce without mutual consent it always involves defaming each other.